Okay, how do we look? All right, today I'm doing things a little bit different. It is the 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. And we're sitting here at a house doing some swimming. Check it out. And I haven't made a video, and I had to get this one done, and I wanted to do something a little bit different. So we're gonna have some fun. You're gonna hear my kids in the background, maybe some fireworks popping. But in this video, we're gonna be talking about the home buyer's checklist. Everything that you need to know, prepare for when it comes to buying a home. And speaking of Independence Day, there's something about that independence that Americans have, being able to pursue their dreams, to build a family, to have that freedom of ownership. There's one thing I can tell you, that buying a home is an emotional, overwhelming process if you don't know what you're doing. And so I'm gonna provide and show you the steps you need to take to make sure that this process is smooth and as good as it possibly can be from the very beginning to the very end. So let's get into the video. So the first step to this buyer's checklist is knowing your numbers, knowing your financial situation. Now, when it comes to buying a home, you actually have to have a credit score of above 640 points. You're also going to want to know what your monthly payment is that you're going to be comfortable with. When you buy a house, you're not just buying the purchase price of $200,000, $300,000. You're buying a monthly payment. That payment every single day, once all of the excitement wears off of buying a house, you're gonna be stuck with a monthly payment. So what is that number that you're comfortable with? That is going to help determine the price range that you're gonna wanna look in. And you can find that out by using any of the payment calculators. Put in the monthly payment that you're comfortable with, and it will calculate about what you actually could afford in a purchase price. Now, for down payment and closing costs, this is something that a lot of people get confused on, and I made this video right here that goes over in detail closing costs from the very beginning to the very end, so feel free to check it out. But you have closing costs broken down into two sections: down payment and closing fees. And for your down payment, down payments can range anywhere from 3% to 20%. Now, if you're going to occupy the property, more than likely it's going to be 3.5% for an FHA loan, or a 5% down payment for a conventional loan, which has a little more flexibility compared to an FHA loan. Then you have your closing cost. Closing cost can range anywhere from 2 to 3% of the purchase price. For a $300,000 house, if you're putting a 5% down payment down, that's $15,000 for a down payment. Then you have probably $8,000, $9,000 in closing costs. You're looking at $23,000, $24,000 that you're gonna wanna save up for a $300,000 house. And then the last thing in regards to knowing your financial situation is, do you qualify for any state or local programs? There are a lot of state and local programs depending on your location. I'll provide a link in the description, and I made this video right here that goes over those very things, putting zero down for a down payment. These local programs provide grants and down payment assistant programs that can help a first-time home buyer depending on your income, whether it's for you or for a family member. You may have an income limit that you may have to be under to qualify for these programs. Okay, so you know your numbers and you've decided, hey, I still want to actually buy a home. Now it's time to get pre-approved with a lender. Now, the first mistake that you want to make sure you don't do is just go to the bank that you're already banking with and just, as a default, get a qualification from them. There's a reason why they provide free banking to all their members. It's because they know it's going to be easier to get you to get a loan from them, or personal loan or a mortgage loan from them, and they don't have as much competition because you currently bank there. Another mistake that is most commonly made is people start the search process before they ever get pre-approved. I had a client one time that was actually started looking for a house. This was when I first starting out and I was a newbie, didn't know what I was doing. And they started looking, I showed them houses, and they're like, I love this house. It's for around $320,000. I said, okay, let's take a look at it. They're like, we need to get pre-approved. They got pre-approved, they qualified for $280,000, $40,000 less than what the house that they loved, fell in love with. And I can tell you, buying a house after that point was miserable for them and me. Everything that they wanted was around that $320,000 because they set their mind that that's what they wanted. And when they couldn't find what they were looking for, it was miserable. Number two, they couldn't find what they wanted because their expectations were way up here when they probably should have been set here at the very beginning. And I was just too new to know that and help somebody through the process, and it didn't make an enjoyable experience for them. Now, I do want you to know that there is no cost or commitment for you to actually approach a lender. It's their job to give you a qualification and to compete for your business. So talk to multiple lenders. I did this video right here that goes over actually Costco as a mortgage company. They have a phenomenal program that actually keeps all of the processing, underwriting, application fees very, very low if you're a Costco member. So be sure to check that out. You can also check out this video right here where I actually go through how you actually qualify between different banks and questions that you should ask. So check that out as well if you have more detail when it comes to actually finding a bank that's going to be good for you. Now, when you do end up talking with a bank, there's going to be a couple items that you're going to want to make sure you have in hand or have prepared when you actually go to meet these lenders, and it will make this process faster, more efficient, and less stress on you. Number one, you're going to want to have your ID. You're going to need to provide your social security number. You're going to need the last 2 months of bank statements for the job that you're currently at, and then you're going to need the past 2 years of tax returns that you need to submit to the bank. Yes, they literally ask for everything, even your dog's name. Just kidding. They don't ask for that, but they do ask for a lot of stuff, so just be prepared when you go and talk to them. So now you have been pre-approved, and it's time to start looking for a home. You need to find a realtor. Now, you may have already have a realtor in mind. You may have already talked to a realtor. The realtor may have referred you to a bank to already talk to. However you make that process, whether it's before or after, it doesn't necessarily matter, but it is important that you get connected with a solid realtor. Now, one of the things I'll have to say is do not end up picking a realtor from one of the popular real estate sites that are out there that have click a button to set up a showing with a random realtor. I mean, literally, you're letting somebody that pays thousands of dollars to Zillow or Realtor.com or any of these other big companies determine what realtor you're going to work with without you doing any type of previous qualification of a realtor. That's insane. That's crazy. Don't do that. I mean, a realtor can make or break this entire process, and if you are working with somebody that is not a professional, not somebody that has experience, they can literally make or break this entire process. So I don't take this lightly. Yes, I'm a realtor, but obviously I'm probably not going to be working with many of you in this process because you're, states away from me. So I really believe that getting the right realtor is key in this entire process because you're going to be able to lean on their experience to help alleviate the risk of actually you buying a home. Experience is the most valuable resource a realtor has, and it is your number one qualification that you should be looking for when we're talking about a realtor. Now, a realtor can also be in the business for 10, 15 years, but they may only do 5 transactions a year. That's not somebody you want to work with. Anywhere from 20, I would say, to over 50, 100 transactions in a year. So you're working with somebody that has experience. So the way I would go about finding a realtor is maybe one, start with getting some recommendations from your family and friends, and then go look online and see if they have an online presence. If they don't have an online presence, that's not somebody you're going to want to work with. We're not in the age of no internet. We are all over the internet. You're literally watching this on the internet right now. So you want to find somebody that has an internet presence and has reviews. Now, if they don't, or you just aren't finding anybody and you want somebody that you can trust and has the experience, feel free to reach out to me and I would be happy to connect you with a realtor that I would trust, that I would work with, and that I would know would have the experience to get you across the finish line. So feel free, just reach out in the comments below, email me, text me, or you can also find a link in the description where we'll get you connected with a realtor in your area. Now let's go into our next point that you really need to look into is location. So I'm just going to touch on these. Your realtor is going to be able to guide you on the locations in your area, but here's some things that you just want to be on the lookout for when we talk about location. Things like being close to work, being in a good school district, being close to public parks, are going to be good things that hold the value of your home up. Also, looking at the surrounding neighbors. Are the neighbors taking care of their home as well? Your home is directly correlated to the value of your neighbor's house, will determine what your home is going to be worth someday. Now, you're also going to want to avoid any type of property that backs to a street or backs to a commercial area that are under power lines, anything like that. And so when it comes to resale, you're gonna have a harder time finding a buyer that's gonna want your home. So by default, my recommendation is just stay away from those areas. So you now have found a home, you've found the location, you found a realtor, you've done all of these things. Now it's time to put in an offer. So here are some terms that you're gonna wanna make sure you look at. My brother's walking by. What's up? Yeah. He thinks he's bigger than me. Okay, so here are some terms that you're gonna wanna make sure that you're aware of. So in this process, so that you're not just a deer in headlights look when a realtor's talking to you. Obviously, you have the purchase price. The purchase price is what you're going to offer to get the house. Then you're gonna have potentially an escalation clause. An escalation clause, you can check out this video right here where I go into detail how to use escalation clause to your advantage. But in short, it basically says, hey, I'm willing to put an offer that's $2,000 higher than your highest offer up to a max amount to make sure I get the house. It's a great way and I highly recommend you watching that video. You're gonna have your earnest money deposit. The earnest money deposit is security to the seller that you're serious about buying a house. And you'll get that money back after you close on the house and it'll go towards your down payment. But if you get cold feet and you walk away outside of the inspection or any of the loan process, you could end up losing that money. You're gonna wanna have a pre-approval letter. That pre-approval letter you're gonna need in hand to submit to the seller with your offer to show that you're actually qualified. If you don't have that and there's other offers, well, you can say sayonara, sucker, because they're not going to even consider your offer because you don't have a pre-approval letter. So it's important you have that in hand before you even start this process. Then you're also going to need to come up with a closing date. A closing date typically is about 45 days after the time you put in an offer in. So think of a closing date about 45 days from the time you write the offer, and that's what you can probably expect is when you're going to be closing. You're also going to have a list of contingencies. Things like your home inspection. The home inspection is done typically 7 to 10 days after the offer is accepted. The inspector is going to inspect the entire house, see if they find anything that could be of concern, and you're going to basically negotiate with the seller further on what's going to be fixed and what's not going to be fixed. So in addition to that contingency, you also have the appraisal contingency and maybe a termite contingency on the house. And then the last two, we have the expiration date of the offer. The expiration date can be anywhere from a couple hours to a couple days. And depending on the temperature of the market and the recommendation from your realtor, you may be anywhere in that range. And then lastly, not required, definitely optional, but highly recommended, is to write a personal letter to the seller. You want to submit this with your offer because it creates that emotional attachment for the seller into you. So now you're under contract, you're headed towards that closing table here in about 45 days, but there are going to be some costs that are going to come out of your pocket prior to closing. Two, in fact. The first is the appraisal fee of $500. You're going to be writing a check to the bank to order that appraisal. The second is going to be the inspection fee. You're going to be writing a check for $350 to $650 depending on the location and the size of your home, and that's going to be given to the inspection company prior to closing as well. After that, you're also going to need to find a insurance company, a homeowner's insurance company for your house. Now, there are going to be some items that you're going to need to bring to the closing table on the day of closing. You are just about there. These are some items you want to make sure you have in hand. Number one, you need to make sure you have your ID. If you show up without your ID, they're not going to know who's buying the house, and you won't be able to close on your house. You'll have to reschedule, and it could be the next day or 3 days after that. The second thing that you're going to need to bring is the cashier's check. The cashier's check is the exact dollar amount for your closing cost and your down payment. All the associated fees that are in that are going to be lumped together into one cost, one check that you're going to be able to just bring, give to the title company, give to the escrow agent for closing on your house. Once you supply that one check, you're good. You are done, and you'll be able to get the keys to your house. Okay, it's time to get in the water. Let's do this.
In a so funny. It poops.
Apparently there's a dirty dog that poops. Fireworks.
Yeah. It's so funny.